Hello and welcome to another edition of a guide to recognizing your saints. It is the 1st of April and that means today is dedicated to Saint Hugo or Saint Hugo or Saint Hugh. Who was he? Let's find out. Hugh was born in 1052 in the southeast of France at Châteauneuf. The only thing I know about Châteauneuf is that it's my friend Annick's favorite wine, Châteauneuf du Pape. Anyway, Hugh died in 1132 and he was canonized or made a saint just 2 years later in 1134. By all accounts, he was a very good-looking young man and he was incredibly intelligent, and he was made bishop at the age of 27, a job he kept for 52 years. He was, however, afraid that he was inadequate, that he was never good enough for the position, and it was Pope St. Gregory VII who said, well, maybe you're not good enough, but the sacrament is, and through the sacrament you can do anything. Hugh is most associated with the Carthusian Order because he gave the land, the area of Chartreuse, to Saint Bruno, who was the actual founder of the order. His father indeed became a Carthusian monk and lived to the ripe old age of 100. Hugh would have liked nothing more than to have gone away from the world and been a monk and lived up in the mountains, but he had more callings here on earth. How might we spot Saint Hugh in art? Well, he's often dressed as a bishop. After all, that was his job for over 50 years. Note the bishop's mitre and the pastoral staff. Otherwise, he might be shown in the white robes of the Carthusian Order, even though he was never a monk himself. This is what a Carthusian monk looks like. What are you looking at? The monastic way of life is one of contemplation, and the Carthusians were especially enamored of silence and solitude, but the monks were, however, allowed to speak during mealtime. And speaking of meals, here's a dinner party that lasted a really long time. Hugh had sent some meat up to the Carthusian monks in Grenoble for Ash Wednesday, that is 6 weeks before Easter. When he went to visit again, it turns out that the monks had fallen into some kind of divine stupor and they had been asleep for the past 45 days. When Hugh arrived, they awoke, and when Hugh touched the meat, it turned into ash. And this was a sign from God, they decided, that they had to live a more austere life and never eat meat again. Luckily, something similar did not occur when it came to making liquor, and so the Carthusian monks are known for this thing called chartreuse. And the color chartreuse, well, that's the color of the liquor. So I'm gonna say that it is deemed by God to be good because he did not send anyone into a stupor and prevent them from drinking it. Indeed, cocktails seem to run within the Carthusian Order and are associated with Saint Hugh. Exhibit A. Hugo, or the Hugo. The Hugo Spritz was invented by Saint Hugo in the 12th century, and it is a delicious way to start your summer meal. The sacred ingredients are as follows. Get your glass, fill it with ice, plenty of ice, add some elderflower cordial or syrup, then some lime and some mint leaves, followed by Prosecco, at least a half a glass, and then some soda water, et voila! Hugo. So you see, Saint Hugh, or Hugo, really is important because he gives us not only the aperitivo, but also the digestivo. You can start with your Hugo or your Hugo and end with your chartreuse. And should you get a headache the next day after having over-imbibed or perhaps having been over-served, well, fear not, because he's also the patron saint of headaches. So just ask him to make you feel better. It's confession time. You did notice the date, didn't you? It's the 1st of April, but this video was not an April Fool's joke. Everything I said was true, with the exception of the history of the Hugo Spritz. However, it is true that it is delicious. Thank you, and I will see you again soon for another edition of a guide to recognizing your saints. As Hugo or Saint Hugh would say, merci bien, à bientôt. Ciao, ciao. He wouldn't say ciao, but I had to throw that in. Gosh, you know, making these videos, I always get so parched, but what are the odds? I finished exactly at Spritz o'clock. That means it's time for me to go and make my Hugo. Is that a good idea? Oui, oui. My French is coming along a treat. Bonne soirée.